Suleiman I, known as Suleiman the Magnificent in the West and Kanuni, the Lawgiver in the Muslim world, was one of the most celebrated monarchs in the history of the Ottoman Empire. Born in 1494 in Thrace, Suleiman ascended the throne in 1520, following the death of his father, Suleiman I. During his long reign, which lasted until his death in 1566, the Ottoman Empire reached its maximum territorial expansion, its cultural apogee, and an era of remarkable legal, administrative, and military development. Suleiman I was born during a time of great dynamism for the Ottoman Empire. His father, Suleiman I, had significantly expanded the empire's territories, acquiring vast areas of the Middle East, including territories in Egypt and Arabia. When Suleiman inherited the throne in 1520, he did so with great preparation. He had received a thorough education in science, philosophy, history, and above all, in the arts of war and political management, which prepared him to govern the vast empire with great skill. One of Suleiman's first measures as Sultan was to consolidate his internal power. Although he had faced some disputes over the throne with his brothers, the new Sultan dedicated himself to ensuring control over the various factions within the court and the army, which allowed him to consolidate his rule. From then on, his reign was marked by both political and social reforms that made his empire a formidable power in Europe, Asia, and Africa. Suleiman was known for his military skill and his ambition to expand the Ottoman Empire. Under his rule, the empire reached its maximum territorial extent. In 1521, he conquered Belgrade, which allowed him to secure his control over the Balkans and pave the way for future campaigns in Central Europe. However, one of the most significant events of his reign was the Battle of Mohacs in 1526, where his army defeated the forces of the Hungarian kingdom and laid the groundwork for the subsequent occupation of the Kingdom of Hungary. This triumph made Suleiman one of the most feared figures in Central Europe. Suleiman also set his sights on Western Europe. In 1529, he led a failed siege of Vienna. Although he failed to take the city, the campaign cemented his reputation as a strategic military leader and gave his empire a greater presence in European politics. In addition to his successes in Europe, Suleiman also expanded the empire eastward, incorporating parts of Iraq and Persia, as well as securing control over key trading points in North Africa. The empire's geostrategic position allowed him to dominate key trade routes between Europe, Asia, and Africa, which added wealth and power to his empire. Although Suleiman is primarily recognized for his military conquests, his most lasting impact on the history of the Ottoman Empire was his legal reform. Unlike other contemporary monarchs, Suleiman not only dedicated himself to territorial expansion, but also concerned himself with the internal organization and structuring of the empire. He was an outstanding legislator. He implemented the canon, a set of civil and criminal laws that complemented and harmonized Islamic law, or Sharia. Suleiman's legal system addressed issues such as social justice, economics, and public order. Suleiman's reforms included the creation of a more accessible court system, the protection of property, and the rights of Ottoman citizens. He also took steps to improve tax administration and the distribution of resources within the empire. His legal reform not only stabilized the empire, but also allowed for greater integration of the diverse peoples living under his rule, creating a more efficient and equitable administrative structure. Suleiman's reign was also a time of cultural flourishing. Suleiman surrounded himself with a brilliant court and patronized art, architecture, literature, and poetry. His reign coincided with the height of the Ottoman Renaissance, a period of great creativity in which Ottoman artisans and architects created some of the most iconic works of the Ottoman Empire. One of the most notable achievements of this era was the construction of the Suleimani Mosque in Istanbul, designed by the famous architect Mimar Sinan. This masterpiece is one of the most iconic symbols of Ottoman architecture and remains an icon of the city. In addition to architecture, Suleiman promoted the flourishing of literature and the visual arts. In poetry, Suleiman himself was a talented writer, and his love of the arts inspired many poets and artists of the time. Under his patronage, Ottoman artisans produced some of the finest works of ceramics, calligraphy, and miniatures that still survive as testaments to the cultural richness of his reign. Suleiman's personal life was also marked by his relationship with Roxolana Hurrem Sultan, a slave of Ukrainian origin, who became his wife and the mother of several of his children. The story of their love is legendary, as it was not only a romantic relationship, but also a political collaboration at court. Roxolana played a crucial role in Ottoman politics, actively participating in state affairs and promoting the interests of her children. Her rise to power was a reflection of the political power that women could achieve in the imperial harem. Suleiman died on September 7, 1566, while on a military campaign in Sijitvar, in what is now Hungary. Although the empire continued to exist for centuries after his death, Suleiman's reign marked the zenith of Ottoman power. His legacy as a military leader, legislator, and cultural patron remains a key reference in the history of the Islamic and European worlds. Suleiman the Magnificent not only left a larger and more powerful empire, but also a cultural, legal, and administrative legacy that endured long after his death. He was a monarch who managed to unite the art of statecraft with the expansion and consolidation of a vast and diverse empire, and whose name remains synonymous with greatness and power. If you want to know other interesting stories, you can follow my YouTube channel, Frank Fernandez Historia.